Before I dive in today, I wanted to give you an update on the pigeon family. They have since moved on. Only a week later, I believe the fledglings both made it to maturity safely, but they were a little bit chased off by a finch family. Here, I believe, is the male. The finches are much more skittish and fly away anytime I'm close, and I'm definitely trying to give them their space, but since they fly away, I do take little sneak peeks at the nest. And what a beautiful nest they've built with dried flowers and juniper berry. So pretty. I almost forgot to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Jen. If you're new here, I am a fiber artist living in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm using these diary entries to share a little bit more about myself, my projects, and my process. If you have just discovered my channel, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome. I'm looking forward to getting to know you in the comments. I ended episode 1 with the discovery that the drive band on my drum carder had just dried up and snapped into 2 pieces. I have since ordered a drive band and it was supposed to be the right size, but as you can see, the smaller drum is not rotating as it should. I did some troubleshooting. I even tried separating the drums a little bit, although this is more space than I would normally want between them. I was just trying to see if I could create a little more tension for that drive band so that it could successfully pull the smaller drum, but it became very clear that I just needed to try to shorten this drive band. Now, I thought I was recording, but I hadn't hit the record button when I cut off an inch of this drive band, and now I'm just going to seal it back together again by heating up the ends of this polyurethane plastic tubing and then sticking them together. Of course, the lighter I chose had to fizzle out on me, and so my first attempt was a failure. I had to find another lighter and go for it again, and this time I definitely am able to melt the polyurethane, but I think because of the first fail, I was a little overzealous and probably heated it up a little bit more than I needed to. You can see that there's some discoloration, so it's not a pretty join, but it definitely is going to do the job. I'm just holding it in place and making sure that it sets before I release it, and just let it cool completely before I try it back on the drum carder again. I didn't take off very much tubing, figuring I could always take off a little bit more if I needed to, but I wanted to go ahead and give it a test run, just 1 inch shorter than it previously was. I'm just feeding a little wool through it and letting it have some resistance there and seeing if the drums are still rotating as they should. It seems like my new shortened drive band is holding up, so that means I get to finally continue with my project. I'm really excited to take this mixture of fibers and start feeding them gently into my drum carder. I can't wait to see how these fibers look once they're all combed into a nice even wool bat.
She goes again, beauty queen on the web. But when she goes to bed, it's like a rhythmic nuisance. Play the 19th song.
I really love how this wool bat turned out. I'm going to go ahead and roll it up and set it aside for now because I have some other projects that I'm also working on. In the middle of the week, I tend to head to a Starbucks so that I can get some editing done. Here I am with my laptop. My screensaver brings me joy. I've got my little pink dino case for my earbuds. For some reason, I'm always able to get so much good editing work done in this environment. What's more straight? I can't tell. I can't tell. Is that straight? Hey, so I'm on my studio floor and I wanted to take a minute to show you this top that I've been working on behind the scenes. I'm basically working on cloning this piece from my closet. This came from a boutique shop here in Tucson that has since closed. So, you know, I won't ever really be able to replace it. And I wouldn't necessarily want to. What I'd love to be able to do is make my own version of it using crochet. And also, that would allow me to make it in other colors. I wear a lot of black. I actually love wearing black. But, you know, this is a perfect summer piece, but black is not terribly practical here in the summer. It just, you know, it just makes you feel that much hotter. We already have temperatures reaching 100 to 106 or 7 this week. So, you know, when you're dealing with temperatures like that, staying cool is where it's at. So, and part of the reason why I like this is because it looks really cute over something like a tank top with spaghetti straps. And then, you know, when you're outside, you might not wear it, but then when you come inside to the air conditioning, sometimes it's nice to be able to put on a really light, lacy layer like this. I'm going to interrupt my own monologue for a second, just so I can walk through the elements of this design. So this is going to be a Solomon's knot top. The Solomon's knot stitch is going to give us a 4-way stretch and a very nice open lacy fabric. If I break down the design, this is a top that has a relaxed fit. It features a scooped neckline and 3/4 batwing sleeves. Batwing sleeves will mean that when your arms are resting at your sides, the hem will have a gentle curve and there'll be a little more extra flowy fabric. When your arms are extended, the fabric extends, the hemline becomes straight, and you have that extra fabric attaching the sleeves to the body of the top, giving that look of the batwing. The first thing I did, and I showed you last week, or in my last Fiber Artist Diaries episode, is this one I made in it's kind of a gray and white. And actually, this turned out really well. And when I put it on, it fits a lot like the original. It, you know, it wears like the original. But I was worried about it just being too warm. And so I thought maybe I should try this in a DK weight. And so I went for this DK weight. And then So I've been doing so much crocheting behind the scenes. So I went for this DK weight, and then when I was done with it, it felt like it wasn't laying the right way, and it was being, you know, looking a little too short. I think just because it doesn't have the same weight. So I added some length onto it, and now, of course, I don't like that. I also made the sleeves a little too thin. And then I thought, okay, I've worked out all of the design issues on that one, and I did another one in a DK and even played around with making it longer and making it a little high-low, making the back a little longer than the front. And actually, I really hate this one. I don't like the way it looks on. I don't like the way it feels. And although it seems sort of counterintuitive to me, making it in the DK, you know, and then using a slightly smaller hook, just because it's hard to work in DK with a really large hook, means kind of more stitches per capita, more, it's just so there's more stitches there. So the fabric doesn't really feel that much lighter weight and doesn't really breathe that much more than just using a medium weight. So after spending hours crocheting this one, after spending hours crocheting this one, I've kind of gone, had a full circle moment, and I've come back to this one, which I really think is the best version. This was the first prototype. There's some issues with it, the way I joined the seams, the way I did the neckline, but overall, the fit and feel is better. And the truth is, even though a medium weight is a warmer fiber, I'm going to be warm regardless here in the desert. So I think I need to let go of this idea that I need to be working with really cool fibers. Although I have come up with sort of a compromise, or not a compromise, but maybe something that's a little bit of a solution. So I picked up some Landscapes Breeze, and this is a chainette fiber. So it's kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with chainettes, but it really is like a hollow tube. They are calling it Breeze after all, so I'm hoping this is a little bit cooler. I feel like I have a terrible track record with self-striping yarns. That being said though, I've been working up kind of the back of one of these tops in this yarn, and I think it is looking, maybe I should move this one out of the way. I think it is looking pretty. I think the stripes are long enough in this yarn that the colors are appearing in a pretty way. And these little bits of lighter color popping through here and there, I think that's pretty. And so I'm going to kind of go with this. I'm going to go with the original first prototype, but I think this is the way I'm going. I think I'm going to go Landscape Breeze, and so I'm going to start filming this today. I do feel like I'm wearing jammies almost today. I have like tie-dyed leggings on and an oversized t-shirt. I left the house almost looking like I'm ready for bed, but I love dressing for comfort. Before I end this diary entry, I wanted to revisit our wool bat from earlier. I really am pleased with how colorful and soft and fluffy this wool bat is, but I also need to make some decisions about how I'm going to spin it up. I took a little sample piece and just sat at my wheel and did a quick 2-ply. I wanted to see if, because it is so colorful, if plying it with itself would look like too much, if those colors would look too busy. And I actually think it looks fine. But then the other issue, I've got about just over 8 ounces. And if I do a 2-ply, that means I won't get as much yardage. Now here's a similar one that I spun a long time ago. This is a singles, so that's a possibility. Another possibility would be to ply it with a decorative thread. Here's another sample from my personal handspun collection. This is just a thick and thin that has some texture to it that was plied with a gold thread. What would you do? Would you go for a 2-ply and have less yardage, or a singles, or ply it with a thread and get as much yardage as possible? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Until the next episode, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.